and say to you, start pulling their voting records. If they have not voted in the manner that is beneficial to you, yours, and your community, then you need to start voting them out.
That's right.
Our aldermen, specifically those aldermen that we voted into office to represent us, have not represented us. It is time that we start voting differently, and I say to you in March that we start voting for those that are going to represent us. Thank you.
And ICLEI is their agent. An NGO is an affiliate of the United Nations. That's what that means. They're not part of this government. They're outside, coming from outside of our nation. And they don't have the best interests of Americans at heart.
What they're going for is 11 regions in North America, not states, not our 50 states, 11 regions. They will be appointing people to do the planning and the running and the operation of those regions through the United Nations.
The City of San Carlos, I guess what I want to say is retain its membership. Reaffirm its membership in ICLEI.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
Of course you will.
Any discussion?
Disgusting.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sirleaf?
Yes.
Councilmember Roca?
No.
Councilmember Olbert?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
On record. Unbelievable.
The Republican National Committee unanimously connected the dots. You should read it. It's simple reading. It's going to the Democratic side now.
We need productive, meaningful work for young people. We're not going to get it from cutting the budget. We've got to stop the $17 trillion that we're bailing out with Wall Street and invest it in a productive recovery. My generation is taking shut your mouth! There's no future with your policies. You're more concerned with your pension and bowing down to Wall Street than the United States of America. The United States of America, my generation has no future.
Let's have order.
Our meeting is adjourned.
And you know,
we call the question.
We're not calling the question. We're talking about this this matter here because
call the question.
He's got a right to call the question.
He's got a right to call the question, but I'm just saying that I also have a right to respond.
No, you don't have a right to do what's not legal. This has not been seconded.
What's not legal is what this board does every
there was no second.
Every 2 weeks.
There's no discussion.
There was a second.
There was a second to can this thing
and move on.
Not to back.
That may have been what your interpretation was of the second, but that's not what the second was.
Really, I did the seconding, and I seconded Trustee Sigwald's motion to
to move on.
Die for a lack of a second, so we were moving on. So that's what the second was. The second was
and
not
we're discussing the lack of a second.
We had discussion by Trustee Ramirez-Slawinski. We got our lecture. Now, Trustee Humpher called the question. He has every right to call the question. And Robert's Rules of Order is when you call the question, there is no more discussion.
We're not operating under Robert's Rules of Order.
Oh, because it's convenient to you now.
No, because we have our own rules.
Wait.
Well, I sure hope your community involvement efforts don't look anything like those we just saw in these videos. While some of them can be quite humorous, of course these are all realistic too. It's all too frequent that efforts to involve communities or even just work with multiple different folks from different levels of government and different agencies can, well, to say the least, fall off the tracks. The video is intended to be a little bit humorous, of course, but it's also intended to get you thinking about what are the ways in which problems emerge. What are the ways in which community involvement or collaborative planning doesn't work, and why? Of course, throughout the semester, we're going to think a lot about what can go wrong, but more importantly, we're going to think about what can go right. That is to say, tools, approaches, and just a genuine approach that, well, we hope at least, can help us do things better. Looking forward to a great semester. Greetings. We find ourselves in unusual times, but we're going to have to find ways to work through it together this semester. And I have confidence we will. I wanted to record this short video as a starting point, as a way to talk a little bit about what we're going to do, how the course is going to work this semester, and also to introduce myself. And following this will be some short videos in which the TAs introduce themselves as well. Of course, we do hope to meet most of you in person, at least sometimes this semester, but we wanted to start this way, given where we are right now, with a little brief video introduction. So I'll start by saying a little bit about myself, and then I'll get into how the course is going to work. So, my name's Todd Shank. I am a faculty member in the School of Public and International Affairs here at Virginia Tech, and my work really falls into two areas, and not by coincidence, those two areas reflect the two classes I'm teaching this semester. So one area is environmental policy and planning. And when it comes to environmental policy and planning, my research, my scholarship, my teaching, and at least in the past, my consulting, has been in a variety of different areas. So one issue that I've worked on a fair bit is climate adaptation. So what do we mean by that? Well, in my case, what we typically mean is how do cities, regions, get together to make effective decisions on how people are going to adapt to a changing climate. Do we still want to stop climate change to the degree possible? Sure. But at some point, we have to acknowledge that there's a lot of climate change already baked in, and therefore we need to find ways to respond, to adapt. And that's what a part of my work focuses on. I also do some work on invasive species management. So how do we control species that are invasive, that may be, say, crowding out species that are really important to our ecosystems and our ecology. And so I do work on invasive species management. I do some work on nutrient pollution, freshwater management. And so right now, for example, I'm on a new project on something called freshwater salinization syndrome. So in other words, salinization that's occurring in some freshwater bodies. So those of you from Northern Virginia, Fairfax area, I have a project right now that's actually with Fairfax Water and some other stakeholders in that area. We're looking at those issues. So that's the environmental policy and planning part of my background. The other thing that I tend to focus on in my work is what we call collaborative governance. We're definitely going to cover that more this semester. What do we mean by collaborative governance? But to give you the sort of brief or short summary, when we talk about collaborative governance, what we mean is how do different folks get together to make the best decisions possible. Sometimes that means how do we get the folks from different agencies together around a problem that's shared. Sometimes it's how do we get people together from different levels of government to collaborate on trying to solve a problem or suite of problems. And sometimes it's how do we involve other stakeholders in those conversations, right? So acknowledging that not only are government officials, government experts part of solving problems, but that other stakeholders, whether those are, say, environmental groups, community groups, business groups, different stakeholders might have and should have a role in representing their interests, their concerns, their priorities as part of efforts to collaboratively solve problems, or at least explore how we can address problems. So often what I try to do in my work is pull those two things together. That is to say, how do we involve different stakeholders in conversations around major complex environmental challenges, and not just environmental, often environmental, social, and economic problems. How do we bring people together to try to tackle those? Acknowledging that they can be pretty messy, they can be pretty complex. We're often dealing with changing conditions, a lot of uncertainty, and so on and so forth. So a lot of reasons why it's really important to get multiple stakeholders together. So that's a little bit about my background. And of course, I hope that we'll talk more about these things as we go through this semester. So how about the course? How is it going to be structured? Well, the plan is that every week you will have 2 recorded lectures, or most weeks I should say, you'll have 2 recorded lectures. And the idea with those lectures is that I'll share some content with you that will complement the readings of the week, but of course the readings might cover slightly different topics, and that's on purpose, right? We're going to try to get at things, multiple different things through both of those avenues, the readings that are assigned to you and the videos that are recorded. Both of those, by the way, will be available through Canvas. So please do check Canvas regularly for what readings are assigned. The videos will be posted there. So please check Canvas for those 2 things. Then in addition to that, you're going to be expected to come once a week for a seminar type session. And so if you do the math, about a third of the class, roughly each time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, will come to each of those classes, seminars, during our scheduled class time. And during those times, the idea is that you'll either do presentations to peers, that is to your group members and small groups within those small seminar sessions. You will do an exercise, and or we'll have some time for discussion, right? So those are going to be more interactive days. I know that some of you, I appreciate that some of you may not feel comfortable being in person right now, and or may physically not be here in Blacksburg. So what we're going to do is also have an online option. That online option will look very similar to what the in-person groups are doing. It will just be through Zoom and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do in terms of both having the asynchronous 2 lectures per week online, video recorded, and the once per week, for most of you at least, in person. I should note that after the Thanksgiving break, we're all going to be online, and you'll all be expected to attend all 3 sessions per week. I think it's 5 in total before we end for the winter break. And that's because we're going to be doing some things where we want to have everybody together for those. So everybody linking into Zoom together for that. So long and short is, please stay tuned. I think we've got a plan, but things are changing. We never know exactly how it's going to all work out. Please check Canvas for the most up-to-date information. Please reach out as you have questions, concerns, and we're going to get through it. So thanks for your time. Please stay tuned here. As I said, the TA videos are going to come right after this, and otherwise some other content for today. So looking forward to meeting you all, most of you in person as well. Bye-bye. Oh, and don't forget to wear a mask.
Hello everyone. I am hopeful that you are all safe and healthy. So, my name is Marcel Bambo. I am one of your TAs for this course. This short video is just to introduce myself very quickly before we meet probably next week. So I will start with my program. I'm a first-year PhD student in the School of Public and International Affairs. I chose the doctoral program in planning, governance, and globalization because of my research interest in governance and security sector reform in Central Africa. So it's still at the stage of draft because I am still thinking about how to go about this topic, but basically this is the main idea. So as a little word about my hobbies, I will say that I like playing piano. This is something I do when I am not reading or when I'm not doing something related to school or to my assistantship. So it's a way of releasing stress, and it works. Just an idea, maybe for any one of you who would like to try. It works greatly. And also, as you may have guessed, I am originally from Africa. I come from Gabon. This is a beautiful French-speaking country located in the central part of Africa. But I got my master's degree in Senegal. It's also a beautiful country, but it's located in West Africa. Yes. So, as a final word, I would like to say that I really love being a TA. To me, it's really an opportunity to serve, but also to learn. And for this semester, I will be serving you, and I will be learning from you as well. So please feel free to reach out to me whenever you see fit. For whatever you see fit, please reach out to me. It will be a pleasure to help you as much as it is humanly possible to do. For this is something I like doing, And though the year started in a very weird way with the COVID-19 outbreak, I know that this year is gonna be awesome and that we are gonna achieve great things and we will do it together. So stay safe. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, but stay safe. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this video. Bye-bye.
Hello class and welcome to another fall semester. My name is Melody Brown and I'll be one of your TAs. I am a recent graduate of Virginia Tech in the Smart and Sustainable Cities major, and I'm also a current grad student in the Masters of Urban and Regional Planning program. My research and interests include community participation and development, as well as geospatial intelligence. And a fun fact about me is that I've lived in 7 southern states. So let's start the semester strong and go Hokies!
Well, hopefully those videos gave you a little introduction to who we are, and we of course look forward to getting to know you throughout the semester. On that note, if you haven't done so yet, please complete the survey. Thank you if you have. But for those of you that have done it, will know that the questions there are designed to give us at least a little bit of a sense of who you are, your background, and so on and so forth. But of course, there's also a question there on what you'd like to get out of the class, and we genuinely will look at that. And on that note, I want to highlight that this is not the kind of course where you're going to know from day one exactly what's going to happen every session and that you should expect things to stay the same. Quite to the contrary, I like to keep things flexible. During any semester, I like to keep it flexible. I have a feeling this semester might require flexibility. But either way, I want to look at that in a positive way, that as things change, as new opportunities emerge, as we get a better sense of what you'd like out of the course, that we're going to be flexible. And so please stay tuned. Canvas is going to continue to be the best place to look for updates on what's happening. But I can promise you one thing, and that is that the course is going to adapt and change over the semester. I also wanted to spend a couple of moments on these class principles, and I genuinely hope that, that they resonate with you, that you find them fair, and that we'll find them useful as we proceed through the semester. I don't think any of these are particularly surprising or shocking, but they are designed or intended to give us a shared set of expectations of one another. And I think those are really important in a class like this, where we want to make sure that we're going to have some good conversations and that we're going to learn together. So particularly in the seminar sessions, when the once a week that you do get together and we have that opportunity, that we make the most of it. And so some principles. The first one obviously is inclusiveness. I want to do my best to make sure that this class is inclusive of everyone, and I would ask you to do the same. So I want to be very upfront. This is a place in which we will not tolerate discrimination of any form. And in addition to maybe what we often think of as conditions of inclusiveness and ways in which we want to be inclusive, that is on the basis of things like race, gender, and so on and so forth, that we also want to be inclusive of different ideas and perspectives here. And so we want to create a place in which everybody feels included, and that is certainly a priority here. I think something that goes hand in hand with that is respect. And so we're going to ask that you be respectful. We fully expect that there's going to be differences in opinion and that those may come up sometimes during these seminar sessions. And in fact, we would hope for that, right? We want to have conversations that are heterogeneous in nature and that are broadly diverse and, as the first point got at, inclusive. But that doesn't mean that they should ever be disrespectful. So we want to create environments in which people don't call each other names. I hope that's pretty obvious. But even just that don't make assumptions about other people, that don't speak in ways that are accusatory, and so on and so forth. Rather, we want you to come from at questions, conversations from a place of curiosity and respect. So that's a goal. Certainly integrity. We ask you to follow, for example, the code of conduct as is put on Canvas in the syllabus, the honor code, and so on and so forth. But going beyond that, we expect you to engage with integrity, right? I don't think it's too surprising that that we ask this, but again, we just want to make sure that you are that we're all on the same page, rather, is what I mean to say, around displaying integrity at all times in this class and beyond, of course. Engagement. Normally, we would be getting together in person 2 or 3 times a week. Things are different now. But I want almost engagement. I want to emphasize all the more so because we're only going to be getting together in person once a week. This course is very interactive. It's designed to be interactive. And so in those seminar sessions, I want you to be prepared to be an active contributor to the course. And while the grading is going to be changed slightly in respect of where we are with COVID-19 and so on, we're not going to put as much emphasis on attendance as we may have in previous years. Nonetheless, there's still going to be a participation component of your grade, and that's really meant to incentivize you to be engaged. And beyond the seminar days, when obviously the expectation is you're engaging in your small groups and so on, we also want you to be prepared to engage online. We're actively thinking about different ways in which we might use the discussion groups, for example. So please be prepared to engage in every ways, and recognizing that what engagement looks like this semester may be unusual. It may not be the traditional ways in which we think about engaging in a class, putting your hand up and answering a question, for example. That's not going to be as possible this semester, this year, but that we're certainly going to still be emphasizing engagement. And I think I already hinted at inquiry earlier when I spoke about respect and inclusiveness, but I really would encourage you to approach the course with a spirit of inquiry. That is to say, with a certain amount of curiosity. We want you to approach this course as a learning opportunity, as a place for you to explore perhaps your values, your interests, your assumptions around how democracy works, what involvement looks like, and why. And so certainly I hope that inquiry is a principle that you embrace fully in the course of this semester. And I commit to doing the same. Okay, so what are we going to cover this semester? Well, in its simplest form, we can really break the semester down to 4 components. One is the theoretical foundation. Yes, we are going to talk theory. And I know it may not sound very exciting to you, but I genuinely hope and think that it provides a really valuable foundation for us to understand everything else this semester. We're going to start from a place of, well, what is democracy? What do we mean by that? What is public participation? And again, why might it be important? I think that these theoretical foundations establish a critical basis on which we start to understand and think about what is good practice in participation and in community involvement and engagement and so on and so forth. So again, I think they're really important. And while words like deliberative democracy and collaborative rationality may sound strange to you now, I'm pretty confident that pretty soon here you're going to start to understand what we mean by them. And more importantly, they're going to start to inform the way you think about what we're going to do. So we turn from theory to tools, the building blocks of public participation. What are the things we can do in practice? And here, as I'll talk about in the next slide, we're going to discuss a range of different tools that one might use to engage in effective participation. Related to that are skills. We want to use those tools effectively, so we need to think about the skills we have to have. What are the techniques that we should be proficient at as good practitioners and participants in engagement processes? And in particular, we're going to look at 2 of them. One is negotiation, and when we get there, we'll talk much more about why I think negotiation is an important skill. But for now, just to say that I think it's an important part of engaging in public processes. And that's typically true, or can be true in a variety of different situations. But we're going to look at that in much more detail when we get there. The other is facilitation. I'm expecting that many of you want to go out and be practitioners. You want to work for public agencies or maybe local governments or even in the private sector. You may be called upon, and one skill we hope that you get out of this course that you can take with you into the world of work afterwards is an ability to be a good facilitator. That is to help other people have good conversations. Whether or not you're an active part of the conversation or whether or not you're a quote-unquote neutral or third-party facilitator, we think there are some valuable skills that you can gain, and we want to help you gain through this course. And last but certainly not least are some considerations of engagement. So after we've thought about, well, why do we engage? That is the theoretical, and what are the what do we mean by engagement? And then we've gone through some of the tools and skills. We want to be thinking about what are the things that, the issues that can emerge. We don't live in a world where everybody engages equally all the time, and we have to be honest about that. So let's think about things like representation, and how do we deal with systemic historical discrimination, not just in the literal sense of distribution of resources, for example, but in the ability or the right to, or the invitation to participate in processes. So we're going to spend some time thinking about what are some barriers to participation and how can we at least attempt to ameliorate that. So that's what we're going to cover in terms of course components. So I mentioned tools, approaches, skills during the previous slide. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this now, but just to say that one part of this course is definitely going to be building your toolbox, your toolkit. And there are a variety of different tools approaches, and as you're going to learn, these are more or less appropriate in different contexts. And so what we want to be thinking about when we get there is, what are the different tools approaches we might draw upon? What do they look like? How are they implemented in practice? What are some of the pros and cons? What are some of the challenges to implementation? And we want you to gain a certain level of skill and expertise in them. You're going to become particularly expert in a single tool or approach at the individual level, because you're going to have a responsibility to learn all you can about it, to find an example or two of that tool or approach's application and practice, and you're going to teach the rest of the class. So one thing you're going to do, not the class necessarily, but your seminar group, one thing you're going to have responsibility to do, one of the main assignments this semester is going to be to share a case-based presentation on tool or approach with others. So that's something to look forward to, I hope. Okay, now the part you've all been looking forward to. Well, at least I know you're probably curious about it, and I'm sorry to say yes, even in the face of all this uncertainty, one thing is clear. We are going to have some assignments and evaluation. One key assignment, or set of assignments, I guess you could say, are the quizzes. In the past, I've run quizzes as a part of every class. This year, because we're asynchronous for 2 of the 3 interventions per week, we're moving to a model of online quizzes that are going to be weekly, that will be due Friday afternoons typically for the week. And those quizzes will be based on the recorded lectures and also, of course, on the readings. And so the expectation is that you'll watch the lectures, you'll do the readings, and you'll be prepared to answer quiz questions. Second assignment here. In the second week of the course, during the seminar sessions, you're going to engage in a little bit of, well, I hope and think it's a fun exercise where we do a bit of a mock town hall. And that's designed to get us thinking about, what does public participation look like in practice? You're also going to be expected then to interview somebody, family member, a friend, somebody who's had an experience with a public participation effort, attending a town meeting, maybe doing some kind of a survey online that has to do with a public decision that's going to be made. You can choose, but the point is that you're going to speak with somebody about their experiences with public participation. And then you're going to be expected to answer a series of questions, again, on Canvas, that reflect both your experiences with the town hall, the mock town hall will do, and the experiences of your interviewee. And as you can see, it's a relatively minor assignment, 10%, not nothing, but it's really designed to help you to reflect on what does public participation look like in practice? What is the status quo? Next assignment after that, which will chronologically fall shortly after that, is a pretty small assignment, but it's really going to be designed to get you thinking about what are your perspectives on engagement. So I mentioned already that we're going to talk a little bit about theory, what is democracy, what is engagement, and really what we want to do here is have you take that theory and reflect on and think about what your principles or values are there. Next, we have a relatively small assignment in which you're going to reflect on your experiences as a facilitator and also in a mediation context. And what this is going to be designed to get at is your reflections on what good mediation might look like, what good facilitation might look like, and what you essentially learn from a couple of exercises that we're going to have on those topics. So again, there are more instructions to come and available on Canvas, but that's hopefully a fairly clear assignment. After that is one of our main assignments for the semester, and that's the tool approach case presentations. So as I already mentioned, you're going to be responsible for presenting a case-based analysis of one of the tools and approaches that we're going to address this semester. So it could be collaborative adaptive management, it could be joint fact-finding, it could be the consensus building approach, it could be devising seminars. There's a whole gamut of different tools approaches that you might look at with your assignment there. And again, we'll come back to that, we'll discuss it, and there will be instructions on Canvas. Please stay tuned for that. All right, so the engagement project. In many ways, this is a capstone assignment for this semester, so it's worth 20% of your grade, but in fact, it's quite a major assignment because it's a group project. So if you add up the work that you do with the others, it's a fairly major project at the end. And it's also one filled with, if I'm honest about it, some degree of uncertainty at this point. In the past, students have engaged with a local agency or organization, maybe done some volunteer work doing surveys and so on and so forth for them. And of course, in this era of COVID-19, that's a lot harder. It's a lot harder, for example, to go on a BT bus and do rider surveys, or similarly do surveys at the farmers market. But we certainly are going to do something here. It's a bit of a work in progress. I'm in touch with Carol Davis, who you'll have a chance to meet at some point in the semester from the town of Blacksburg, and we're going to work something out. But it's a little bit of TBD at this point. And last but not least, attendance, participation, and so on. So in the past, I've diligently taken attendance during each class, and it's been an important part of the grade. Acknowledging where we are vis-a-vis COVID-19 and so on, this time around, we're not going to take formal attendance. However, participation is a really critical part of this course, and particularly in the seminar sessions, of course, where you have a chance to work with others, to have conversations, to make presentations, and so on and so forth. So I'm certainly still keeping this 10% there. It's reduced from previous years, but keeping that at 10% as a way to signal that it is really important and that you're expected to participate in. How will we do that grade? Where will that 10% come from if we're not taking attendance? Well, the TAs and I will, of course, be facilitating those seminar sessions, and so we'll see who's there and who's not, and certainly we'll be looking for patterns of attendance, and equally, if not more importantly, not just attendance, but engagement, who's part of conversations. And then secondly, it would be, you may not know this, but in Canvas we can see how active people are. So we'll know that you've downloaded readings, that you've watched the videos, and so on and so forth. And so there's still ways in which we will be tracking participation, and we hope that, we don't mean that to be punitive, we don't say that we want to punish you, but rather to motivate you and just to signal how critically important it is in a class like this that you're engaged. And that's it. So if you have questions, I'll try to answer as many as I can during the seminar sessions, but time is precious with our only 50 minutes a week together. So also please feel free to reach out here. I'm also going to start to use the Canvas site to post things like FAQ or Q&A if you have questions, particularly if you ask questions that I think other people want to know the answer to. So again, Canvas is going to be our main conduit for communication. It's kind of bare right now, frankly, as I start to build things out and I'll start to record other lectures and so on and so forth. But the plan is for that to become a dynamic, living place that I encourage you to check on a regular basis to make sure you're on top of things. And as I said, we'll use various parts of it as we go forward. So certainly the pages and assignment sections will be really important for the key information. But in addition to that, I'm probably going to start using the discussion area and other areas of it as a way to keep in touch. It's not ideal that we won't see each other more frequently. I wish we would. I wish we could. But we're going to make the most of it together. And thank you in advance for your participation and partnership, really, in making that happen. Looking forward to seeing most of you in person once this week. And on that note, please do confirm which session you're supposed to attend. So whether you should be there on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or of course, if you're on the online session, there'll be information on that too. All right, thanks, and have a great semester.